So now that we've kind of talked about some of the basic rights, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into natural rights. We've already established that most of the colonists believed that everyone had the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or property. These were called natural rights. Sometimes they were called fundamental rights. In the Declaration of Independence, they're called inalienable rights. The idea of these natural rights means that um, people have them just because they're human beings. Everyone is born with these rights, and they should not be taken away without a person's agreement. Many of the founding fathers believed that these were given to people by God. There was a famous English philosopher who had wrote about these, and he called he said that the main purpose of government was to protect people's natural rights. He also said that kings should not have absolute power. That that is, absolute power is power without limits. They should not be able to deprive people of their natural rights. Many Americans had read this English philosopher's work, and a lot of people agreed with it. So, although people agree on certain natural rights, they were worried about how they were going to protect these rights. And one of the things that this English philosopher had brought up was that, what life would be like if there was no government and no laws. He called this, if there was no government and no laws, that is the state of nature. And that people were afraid of what would happen if we lived in a state of nature. So let's do another problem solving activity here, and you guys get to think like you're a philosopher. I want you to imagine what life would be like if we lived in a state of nature. Think about our classroom here. If there were no rules, think about what would happen if myself or some of your other teachers didn't have the right to tell anyone what to do. I want you to, in the formative below, I want you to think about this situation, and I'm going to pose a couple questions down there, and I want you to think about what might be the advantages and disadvantages of living in a state of nature. Okay, what are the pros and what are the cons? What are the good things and what are the bad things in living in a state of nature? And remember, a state of nature is that there are no rules. There is no government. What might happen to people's rights if you were living in this state of nature? If you come into school, what would happen to your rights or other students' rights if there were no teachers in charge, no principal? And then what might life be like for everyone else in the classroom? Think about each of those three things, and then here in a second, we will compare your answers to that of this English philosopher.